Hi, I'm Jeff Foxworthy, and welcome to Gamekeeper Podcast. If you want to learn more about farming for wildlife and habitat management, then, buddy, you are in the right place. Join the Gamekeeper crew direct from Mossy Oak Land Enhancement Studio as they discuss the latest wildlife and habitat management practices, news, and, of course, hunting. There's no telling what you'll learn, but I'm going to tell you, I bet it's interesting. Enjoy.
I get a kick out of hearing Jeff every time when he introduces the Gamekeeper show. So welcome everybody once again to the heart and soul of the Mossy Oak Land Enhancement Building. I'm Bobby Cole. Across from me is Lanny Wallace.
Whoop,
and
whoop.
Next to me is Dudley Sleepless and Starkville Phelps.
He not been resting well, Dud?
Yeah, I'm on a no sleep kick. So
that's got to be miserable.
I decided today to quit coffee.
Oh. So you hadn't had any caffeine all day?
No caffeine.
How you feeling?
I feel pretty good.
Good. That's good.
Tough day to quit coffee when Cleveland.
It has a French press sitting on the,
I know.
table here.
Fancy coffee.
But I tell you what, I'm a professional sleeper.
That's good.
I know I bring it up often, and I'm sorry.
You do.
My wife is kind of, she's not real happy about how well I sleep either.
So look here, we're excited about these podcasts, but now we don't know. We may be putting people to sleep. That may be the best use for this. Have you tried listening to our podcast late at night? That might put you to sleep.
I actually have.
So
it put my wife to sleep, but I liked it.
Well, that's good. Well, so look. If you're listening and you like this, we would love for you to go on. Like if you're listening on the Apple Podcast, I think I'm saying that right, you can give us a review, and then we'll know what you like and what you don't like. But we'll just be honest. We're not asking you to blow us up with 5 stars, although that would be very nice.
Be nice.
But we need some reviews. So however you listen to it, please review us when you get a chance. And
if you like us, tell your friends.
Yeah, share us with some people. So so today's show's going to be pretty cool. We've got Dr. Ed Snoody, who has helped us for years with some fertilizer products, and he is super knowledgeable. I'm sure, so there's a couple of topical events, this Hurricane Sally that, deposited so much water on the state of Alabama and Louisiana and Georgia.
Yeah, she hung a right there at the end and cut really northeast, which changed the direction, and I think shocked a lot of people. None of the models, I don't think, showed going it that way, did they much?
Not until right towards the end.
Yeah.
So I've got friends in Troy, Alabama that got 9 inches.
Wow.
That's a lot of water.
And I think they got 20
Gulf
Shores.
There was a tiny pocket just barely north of the coast that got over 30.
Wow.
That was in Pensacola, I think, wasn't it?
Near Pensacola, yeah.
That's a lot of rain.
So in the last 2 days, I'm starting to see bucks without velvet on my cameras coming in. I mean, some are and some aren't.
Yeah, today is the 17th of September.
Feels a little early.
Yeah, it does feel a little early. But that, I don't know, maybe because of the hurricane, these north winds the last couple of days, kind of got me thinking about it.
The temperature changed.
Yeah, in my neck of the woods, central Mississippi, it's usually not until right before October 1st, and then they all suddenly lose their velvet. It does seem a little bit early this year.
I was thinking this. Speaking about camera pictures, y'all check this deer out. Undisclosed location. What you think, Bobby?
Well, he's got that classic look of a piebald deer.
Piebald deer.
I don't see a Roman nose, but he's obviously piebald. So I'm gonna pass this to Dudley.
So typically, piebald deer would have a shorter nose.
The ones I've seen and been around that I've really got to look at up close, like being in the back of the truck, had a Roman nose.
So it's like a genetic thing, maybe.
I think it could be.
So is that part? Is that kind of like being an albino?
I don't think so. Had I known we were going to talk about this, I've got some information because I've got a couple of pictures on my phone of some piebalds that we've got. And I one night posted a picture of them, and I learned people were commenting on my page, and I learned more about piebald deer than I ever. I mean, it was pretty fascinating. And there's some people every year that have harvested some really nice bucks that were piebald.
Yeah,
I don't know if I've ever seen a summer coat picture of a piebald like that one. I guess now we're going to have to share that photo.
Yeah, we'll have to share this photo and let everybody see it. And then I think we posted the dove necropsy photo on social too.
Yeah, so. It's not gross, so nobody has to looking at
it's G.
Very, very G.
It's a G-rated
It looks
necropsy.
like you sold some seeds in the back of
G-rated.
your truck.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like.
With a little tuft of feathers to the side of it.
Yeah, it's amazing how much they eat when you cut all that out.
I'm telling you, that dude was stuffed, and that's why I picked him out, because he was sitting over there and he looked like his neck was swollen up, and I was like, "Good grief!"
And then somebody posted that on our Facebook page, and can you identify the seeds? And within like 5 minutes, somebody ID'd all of them and just kind of killed the post. Oh well.
Maybe we should ask them to post their own dove necropsies instead of.
So I meant to bring a woolly croton in. I saw some plants the last few days, and I've been around you too much. I thought, okay, I'm gonna come back and get those, and then I never thought about it again. And that's clearly being around you has rubbed off on me.
Every time I see woolly croton, I think about doves on the grill, because don't they love it? I mean, it just seems like it's real indicative of
it's naturally occurring out in some prairie soils.
And the only thing I know it as is woolly croton. Is that a slang name? I'm
sure. They've changed the scientific name. Did you know that?
I didn't.
Yeah. I mean, it's not what I learned, even though I can't remember that either. Croton capitatus.
Croton. Well, that would make sense. Woolly croton capitatus.
Why would they change the scientific name?
Well, it happens. Partridge pea was changed from, I think now it's, it used to be Camecrista fasciculata, and now it's some other weird word.
So do they send out a memo to the people that are really in the know on this kind of thing?
Well, if you're in the know, you're in the know, so you know.
So, you would already know if you're in the know.
Who would change the name?
I don't know, but it's also called doveweed, which is what I'm going to call it for the rest of my life now.
Yeah. So before we drop this and move on, who would make the decision about the scientific name?
I'm sure there's some kind of panel out there that does that.
A committee.
Well, obviously they took Latin at some point in their lives.
E pluribus undum. What does that mean? I don't know where that came from. I got the ADD bad today.
That's on the dollar bill, maybe.
Is that on the dollar bill?
Okay.
But what's so cool about croton is it occurs on poor soils, so there's bare ground around it, and so it throws the seed at a good time of year for dove season, but it's also easily accessible for doves because they like bare ground and dirt.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
A really good site, may be covered up in some kind of grass that's hard to get to the ground, whereas croton usually occurs where cows have been trotting around and that kind of thing.
Yeah, making.
So it just leaves seed on the bare surface usually.
So it's not necessarily that's more palatable. It just happens to be the seed that's on the bare ground.
I think a little of both.
Yeah, that would make sense.
So looking at my watch as we go through this, it reminded me that Bertucci Watches is the sponsor of this week's show.
It's time for the sponsor.
And they have a little offer they just informed me that if you're listening to this podcast and you go to BertucciWatches.com and use the code Gamekeeper, you get $25 off of a Gamekeeper watch.
Boom.
And they're fine watches.
I love mine.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a heck of a deal.
It really is. $25 off. So it's BertucciWatches.com and then code Gamekeeper. And there's about 10 different models of the Gamekeeper watch. So we appreciate them being a part of the show. And moving right along, what else we got that are current events that we need to touch base on, Lanny?
Elk season has started. I don't know if y'all been looking on social media.
Been some big ones killed.
Some big ones killed. I know the Primos boys are on the board. A couple of our guys are on the board here at Mossy Oak.
Yeah, it seemed like Mackie killed a giant.
Yeah, Mackie killed a giant. And Rusty. I think Rusty killed a good one too.
Ben has killed a bunch of bulls.
Ben has killed a bunch of bulls.
When you've got that many bulls, what do you do with them?
I don't know. I don't have that many bulls.
Well, you've got a big one hanging in your office.
Yeah. There's a bigger one out in the
Europeans.
in the
What are you
foyer.
going to do with that one? Because Copper, every morning we walk by it, he has to smell it like it's the first time he's seen it.
I mean, we just sit there and look at it. You don't like looking at it?
Well, I mean, that elk deserves to be hung someplace where you can admire it rather than trip on it on the floor.
Okay. Well, we'll hang it on the wall with the other two.
Most museums don't have elk heads laying in the floor.
Yeah. Most museums don't have as many whitetails as you have hanging out there either. Speaking of where do you put them, running out of room over here. Yeah, if those had been elk, you'd have to have a whole other building.
You know, we need to get a taxidermist to sponsor this show.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
Because I think we all owe the taxidermist something at some point during the year.
Yeah, it reminds me. I need to call Rhett. I gotta get squared up.
Yeah, he'll be calling me. So why don't we use this time? Why don't we try to get Dr. Ed Snoody on the phone?
Ed.
And he is just an authority on a number of subjects, some of which fascinate us, others don't fascinate us. About insects, it doesn't excite me at all.
So, is he an entomologist or is he just an insect enthusiast that is very knowledgeable?
We'll have to ask him.
I think he is a tried and true entomologist.
Entomologist.
I know he carries a butterfly net with him wherever he goes.
He does.
All right, let's see if we can get him on the phone.
The Gamekeeper magazine is our life outdoors on paper.
We love Gamekeepers magazine.
It's full of great information.
Full of ideas on how to make the habitat better.
From plots to trees
to whitetails and waterfowl.
It's total farm management,
There's so much information in Gamekeepers.
especially when it comes to managing your property.
You can't go wrong if you want to improve your habitat for wildlife.
Pick up our Gamekeepers magazine.
Gamekeepers.
The Journal of Wildlife Stewardship.
Hey, I'm Toxie Hayes.
And I'm Cuz Strickland.
You know, here at the Mossy Oak brand, a primary thing that we all believe in is the good that we do will last long after we're all gone, which is why we challenge everyone who loves the outdoors and the critters who call it home to participate in the second annual Mossy Oak Properties National Day of Conservation.
That's right, Toxie. Saturday, September the 26th, we challenge you to do something for conservation. Plant a tree, clean a stream, hey, introduce somebody to the outdoors. We want everybody to know that if you love the outdoors, you're the tip of the spear and you're a part of this conservation effort.
Absolutely. So the most important thing is, are you in? Do you accept the challenge?
I accept it. You accept it.
Good afternoon, this is Ed.
Hello, Ed. This is Bobby and Lanny and Dudley and Jason.
Hey, Ed.
Hey guys, how are y'all doing?
Man, we're doing great. How about you?
Doing great.
Well,
Doing
good.
great.
Did you get some rain down there?
Yeah, we got a total of 6 inches yesterday.
Wow.
And
So
That's a lot at one time.
Yeah, it's a lot at one time.
He's near Auburn. He's, I think his farm is south of Auburn, isn't it? Russell County. We're giving
yeah,
GPS
farm's
coordinates.
about 25 miles south.
Well, good.
They got more wind than we did, so
Well,
I
look,
got to go check the pine trees.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, you do. So, well, Ed, look, we wanted to pick your brain. You know a lot, and see if we could share some things with some listeners that would not only help us but help them. And the way we met you years ago, obviously you're a fertilizer expert. You work for a company called Agri-Bee, and you're down in that southeast Alabama and west Georgia and helping farmers, and you make some great water soluble products. And you helped us build a product we've got called MEEN Green, which is a water soluble, spray it over the top of your food plot.
Food plot fertilizer.
And it's got a lot of microbes in it, including Molly. I was hoping.
Molybdenum.
Yes, well, I can't pronounce that, so Ed and I refer to it as Molly.
Ah, okay.
But and it's not the kind of Molly that.
Where you been going, Bob?
Isn't there something?
Where you and Ed been going?
Yeah.
I can imagine Bobby and Ed on Molly. Here we go. Yeah.
That really truly is the industry standard as to what we call sodium molybdenate. See, I stuttered on that one. Everybody just calls it Molly, and we know what it is.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah. So,
would you take a minute and explain that product, that water soluble, and when to spray it, and the benefits that a food plot guy can get from that?
Exactly. Micronutrients are very important. Things like iron, zinc, boron, moly, copper, they all tend to be metals, and they have charges attached to them because they're metal. And when you plant your food plot and the young seedlings come up, they have a very small root system. So they can't reach out there and get your base macronutrients that you put out there. So phosphate is difficult for them to get to anyway because it's not readily available, especially in cool, damp soils. And they'll just kind of sit there and be stunted. But we designed MEEN Green so we overcome that. And by spraying the MEEN Green, it's a 1540-5, and we've got a fully loaded micronutrient package in it. Now, as I said, they're metals, so you have to chelate them, because if you don't, and they get into the soil profile, they have a different charge than the soil particles do. So it's just like taking a magnet and sticking it to the refrigerator, and you lock that micronutrient up. So what we do is take the strongest chelator, which is an ADTA, and we change the charges on it to where it repels against the soil. It repels against anything you've got in the solution tank that you're using and spraying. And it is a water soluble, which means it has the consistency of like sugar or salt, and we use the quality raw ingredients so it will dissolve instantly.
Mm-hmm. We have never had anybody call back and say that it just wasn't wonderful on their food plots. It turns them from green to almost like a dark blue.
I talked to a guy today that uses it in his yard.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, he loves it.
It is fantastic. Now it doesn't. Yeah. It doesn't take the place of the regular fertilizer. You still need to put down, follow a soil test and put down, a couple of 100 pounds of the 13 or whatever it calls for. But then after the plot is up and growing and those leaves are exposed, you can come back through on a warm October afternoon or November afternoon and spray this, and it makes the plants explode.
Which makes them more palatable.
Yes.
More nutrient dense.
Yeah, guys even
spray it around the tree stands.
That's right. Toxie always talks about doing that big field spraying right there around where you want to bow hunt, and that's where the deer are going to be.
I've noticed it helps tremendously. Well, like clover, brassica, but you know how brassicas will get that purple tinge to them, and it's almost like it happens earlier and earlier every year, But once you start putting out these micros like MEEN Green, you heard Ed say like phosphorus is harder for a plant to absorb in cold, damp conditions. Well, when you put it on the leaf,
it's readily absorbed
in a form that it can take it on the leaf, then it's readily absorbed.
So what's also interesting is that now there's several companies like Chapin that offer the sprayers for your ATV, and they're so easy to use, and they've got removable tanks, so you could have, a glyphosate tank, and you could have a MEEN Green tank, and you just switch them out. Or there's backpack sprayers, so there's no excuse. This is so simple for a guy to do. It really is, and 5 pounds does an acre.
What really struck me last year, Austin Delano took some photos of some clover he had not sprayed, and clover that he did spray with the MEEN Green, same plot, same lime, same fertilizer, but they greened up in the spring much more quickly. They were like twice as tall and had double the size of the root system.
And did he fertilize that in the spring, or was that in the fall?
Well, he fertilized it in the fall, but this was just when he went back, probably during turkey season. You know how everything flushes and looks real pretty. The clover was just so much further along and twice the foliage.
We need to get that picture from him. I bet he took a picture. We'll post it.
He did. It's probably on BioLogic's Instagram page.
Probably
But it's incredible stuff. Well, hey, look, Ed, before we let you go, Lanny, I know, wants to ask you about some of your, about you being an entomologist and your interest in bugs. And we were kind of arguing back and forth, but when you were up here about 10 years ago and there was a cicada outbreak, and it was that 17-year cicada.
That red one with the red eyes.
Yeah, you were really excited. Did you actually eat one of those?
Exactly. No, I did not.
Okay, well, that makes you feel. Lanny thought you ate one. And
I swore Bobby said he caught one in the net and ate it, and I was like, what?
He caught one in the net, but I don't recall him eating it.
I think what you're thinking about is it's like when I'm catching dragonflies. There's so many around there that I can't get them in a kill jar fast enough, so I take them and fold their wings back, which doesn't affect them. And their wings are very clear, has very strong veins in them, which supports the structure of the wings. And I'll fold them back and put them in between my lips.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense then.
That does not make any sense.
It's actually holding pen, huh?
Yeah. And so I hold them by the wings. I do dragonflies the same way. If I'm hitting a spot of dragonflies, I can't stop every single time I catch one to go put it in a kill jar to preserve it. So, I may walk around with 2 or 3 dragonflies. Yeah. Holding the wings with my lips.
You need to just get you some pockets on your britches and you won't have to do all that.
Well, then you run the chance of damaging the wings, which is a very vital part.
That's some fascinating stuff, and you sound like you live it every day. There's no doubt about that.
Yes, it's been my life for the last 35 years, and I've learned a lot of things over that time period. So, but I love agriculture. I love helping growers, grow their crops. And me, myself, as a deer hunter, I plant, multiple food plots and really manage them.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is.
I call you a gamekeeper. I don't know if I call you a deer hunter then. Yeah.
So,
well, okay, I am a gamekeeper. I'm remembering.
Yeah, we'll give you that. We'll give you that. Well, Ed, we appreciate you being on here,
Absolutely.
and please tell all the people back at your office at Agri-B we said hello, and we appreciate what you guys do, and we'll have you back on sometime real soon.
Talk about armyworms.
There you go. Just let me know.
Yes,
okay,
sir.
I'll be more than happy to do it.
All right.
Thanks, Ed.
Thanks, Ed.
All right.
We'll see you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Bye-bye.
Hi, I'm Cuz Strickland with Mossy Oak. Conservation is a big part of what we do here at Mossy Oak, which is why we've been called the official camo of conservation. On Friday, September the 25th, I want you to join us at the Mossy Oak store in West Point for the Mossy Oak Properties National Day of Conservation event. From 2 to 5 p.m., we'll have tree giveaways for our first 200 guests from native nurseries, free magazines from Mossy Oak Gamekeepers, a BioLogic seed raffle to help you get your fall food plots ready, and tasty samples from the all-new Gamekeeper butchery line of wild game meats. Stock up for hunting season with gear at the Mossy Oak store featuring special savings store-wide. Again, that's 2 to 5 p.m. on Friday, September the 25th at the Mossy Oak store on Highway 45 in West Point for the Mossy Oak Properties National Day of Conservation. We look forward to seeing you there.
When I first bought this farm a short time ago, every single field was growing up with brush 8 and 10 feet high. But it went from that to this. And even though I planted BioLogic with very little moisture in the ground, I was really amazed at the results. I just sat in this field with my wife as she shot her very first deer. We could not be happier. We made a memory that will last a lifetime, all because of the effectiveness of the best food plot seed on the market. BioLogic is better seed, pure and simple. Log on to plantbiologic.com to learn more.
I tell you what, I've been around Ed a long time. He really knows his stuff.
Yeah, he does.
And he loves bugs.
He does.
That's so odd to me.
I'm glad he was putting bugs in his mouth because I just really thought he was eating them. So that explains what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I understand soils and that kind of thing, but he has a knack for making the chemistry, all that stuff that's over most of our heads, and helping us understand the basics.
Right.
You know,
when he talks about all those metals, you know, all that stuff, you know, because like plants versus metals are just so completely opposite on my spectrum of understanding. You know, I guess the realm they live in, you know, it's just kind of crazy to me. And then it gets me to thinking, I really get lost because then I'm thinking like, it's all common dust. You know, how did that even get here in the first place? Whoa, man. What is matter?
We don't know.
Anyways.
Yeah.
That's what Ed's for.
Yeah, it's an amazing world, that's for sure. And you never quit learning.
So as we sit here, I'm looking at the fall issue of Gamekeepers. It's in the mail now, guys, so y'all can be watching for it, and it's a really good one.
And then the Gamekeepers at large, which is the social media, didn't they choose the cover this time?
They did. Yeah.
All right, that's fun.
Yeah. Well, I think we had 5 images, and this one won. It's by Lance Kruger. He's quite a photographer.
That's a giant deer.
It really is. I don't know where he took that picture, but
it's a giant deer.
It's a big deer. I'll never see. If I saw a deer like that, I'd have a heart attack.
Yeah, you would. You sure would.
Standing in a brassica field.
So Dudley, let's get to some of your questions. People have emailed in and asked Dudley some questions. Let's see what they're all about.
Yeah, so we picked 3. A couple of them are a little wordy, so I'm going to paraphrase them a little bit.
There you go.
Adam Cunningham emailed us about tree spacing. And he, in a nutshell, wanted to know what proper spacings are for oaks, chestnuts, and persimmons. And he was also asking, would you plant them all together, or would you separate them? Mm-hmm. Just say you were going to fill up a field with trees. Would you put all the persimmons in one area and in my opinion, I think that's kind of a personal preference. If you're trying to make it more of a destination area where deer are going to come at night and just eat all night long, that's what I would do. Mm-hmm. You know, just mix them together, space them out a little bit more because, you know, chestnuts aren't going to grow as tall as an oak. So you may want to do some of them 50 or 60 feet apart.
Well, from a pollination perspective, would it be better to have them all together?
Well, if they're all in the same field, a lot of that stuff is bee pollinated, wind pollinated. They should be fine. And another thing I ask is, you know, are you planning on hunting this area? If you're going to bow hunt, you might want to have large groups of the same species.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so
that way they're not as spread out. So you may be able to hunt the persimmon area
early
for a couple of weeks or whatever, and then move on to some of your oaks. Mm-hmm. And that way you're not boogering up your whole field. You know, you're going from hot spot to hot spot.
I like that.
So it's just kind of a personal preference. But generally, you know, bigger hardwoods, I space about 35 feet apart. And things like fruit trees, I usually do about 15 to 25.
A little tighter.
The next question is Jim Jankowski up in New York.
New York.
He says, I live in upstate New York. I'd like to grow a fast-growing oak and chestnut trees. What do you have available for me? Upstate New York, well, for starters, New York is, I want to say, has the broadest planting zones of any other state. They go from zone 7 to zone 3. But
because of elevation or just how big the state is?
A little bit of everything. And you've got lake effect from the Great Lakes on one side, and you've got the ocean on the other side. And then in upstate, it's a lot colder.
That makes sense.
And so he just said upstate, so I'm assuming he's in zone 4, maybe even in zone 3, which is too cold for most chestnuts. You can do chestnuts starting in about zone 4B. Mm-hmm. And go otherwise, I would for your oaks, I'd probably focus on swamp white oak and bur oak. They're both really cold hardy and do well in that area. And northern red oak would be another good one. So
there's I was always been kind of confused between a chestnut oak and a chestnut.
Well, they're
two
related.
Completely different.
They're in the same family, but they're not in the same genus. The chestnuts have that spiny burr that's really sharp and can poke you. Oaks make acorns.
But the chestnut and the chestnut oak are in the same family.
They're in the same family. Mm-hmm. The reason the chestnut oaks are also kind of referred to as the chestnut leafed oaks because their leaves resemble a chestnut oak. It kind of has that sawtooth edge on it, that sawtooth margin.
So that's the similarity, is the leaves.
Right. And then my third question is from Daniel Burnett, and he's asking about native grasses, and he wants to plant plugs instead of seed, and wants to block a view. It's 300 feet long, and wants to block a view, and wants to know what spacing on the plugs. And that has to do with your budget. It really. 1 feet apart would be perfect. It would be just ultimate way to do it. Instant gratification. Yeah. You're blocking a view, maybe 3 rows deep. But most budgets, I would say about 3 feet apart and let them grow together. Mm-hmm. And some people will even do 3 or 4 feet and then put seed in there as well.
Or offset your planting, maybe.
Yeah, the beauty of the plugs is you're going to get a seed head year one. It's going to grow tall. And then our plugs are even bigger than most standard plugs. So it works really well. But yeah, Daniel, I'd probably go 3 feet between plants.
I've personally, my experience with the native grasses, I've, burned, used herbicide and put them down. And it takes a long time for them to germ.
It's up to 3 years. It's usually 3 years before they are just perfect.
And every plug I've ever planted is growing like crazy to this day.
Just immediately.
And you're looking at most of those, you can get those plugs for $1, somewhere around there, or $2, just depends. But
that's a good deal.
It is.
When you got something, you can see it. That's a big thing for me. I remember coming to work being like, man, I planted this stuff like 45 days ago, and they're like, oh, it could take up to like 3 years.
Oh yeah, remember when we planted the rough at the Mossy golf course, and all those big timers were like, so when's this stuff going to start growing? And you're like, well, we told you when it started. It was about a 3-year process. Yeah. But you have to remind folks about that a lot. Mm-hmm. But it's worth the wait because once it's there,
it's amazing.
It's every year. Mm-hmm. It's just done.
It's great for the soil too, isn't it?
Yeah, they have super deep roots. The reason all those soils are so black in the Midwest is from prairie grasses and their deep roots. Thousands and thousands of years of roots growing and dying and decaying. It's not as much the stuff on the top.
Huh.
Yeah, it's more the roots.
Learn something every time you ask Dudley something,
He is a wealth
between
of knowledge.
Him and Ed, I'm just like, my brain's about to blow up over here.
Oh, Lord. All right, Dudley, I guess we've exhausted your questions. Next week, we'll look forward to some more.
Yeah.
Y'all email them. What is the email address they can use?
I think we're still struggling with that. I'm going to put that on my plate again.
Okay.
I don't know what has happened with that.
Well, just...
dphelps@mossyoak.com.
Or post it on, go to social, go to the Gamekeepers page,
direct
BioLogic page, DM. Hit Bobby with that DM.
Don't hit me with a DM. Hit the BioLogic page with a DM.
Or Gamekeepers.
Or native nurseries, yeah. We got a lot of pages.
We got a lot of different channels to reach us.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's been fun learning about fertilizers and whatnot, and anybody got anything else?
Well, I did. Yeah, I learned that earlier today that Madonna actually had a gamekeeper. Yeah.
Yes,
that's interesting.
She's got an estate over in England.
Yeah.
And it's my understanding it's a giant estate, and they pheasant hunt, and hunting is supposed to be a big part of that landscape where that estate is.
Well, from looking at this article online, things might have went awry with Madonna and her Gamekeeper, it looks like.
Well, what happened? Do tell.
Do tell here. It seems like I think they were trying to give a little bit of guidance to the Gamekeeper on how to raise the birds and everything else involved in that. And then, I don't know, it looks like the tensions got up a little bit. And then her and what is this guy, Richie? Is that Madonna's husband?
I think at one time it was. I'm not sure he is her husband at this moment.
Apparently they were scrapping in the yard and old guy broke the Gamekeeper's arm.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Mr. Martin. But now Mr. Martin's over here at the States and he's helping a billionaire develop a shooting property. So, Mr. Martin landed on his feet.
Good for him.
So I wonder if Madonna's looking for a Gamekeeper.
I'm not one to judge books by the cover, but I never would have thought that she would be into this kind of stuff.
I'm sure that there's probably a backstory that she wasn't really into this kind of stuff is why Mr. Martin's not employed anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Madonna, if you're listening, call us and fill us in on the story.
Yeah, we can hook you up with Dudley. He can give you some pointers on what you need to do over there.
Yeah, he could probably even help her with some dance moves.
Oh,
truth be known.
Yeah.
But just to put a little finality to this, I think that this husband, this guy Richie, is from England, and that's probably where that connection to the property came from.
Oh, okay.
Because, if you marry into somebody that's got a bunch of money, first thing you're going to do is want to go buy a bunch of land somewhere.
I want to go bird hunting.
All right, guys. Well, do we have anything else? I don't think so. Lanny, you got some hot peppers there in front of you, but I don't think you're going to open that one up.
Yeah, I think maybe we can talk about that on the next one. Every time I think about elk, I think about peppers.
A hot pepper. Yeah. Well, you're going elk hunting here pretty soon.
Yeah, it won't be long. We'll be headed out.
Yeah, next week let's talk about that. Why don't we and find out what other people have been doing?
I'm breaking my boots in. My bottomland. Y'all like those?
They do.
Bottomland Danners.
Bottomland Danners. I'm gonna go hike in Sipsey with them, Dud.
All right.
Broke in.
Well, everybody, we appreciate y'all listening. Remember to give us a review, and we sure appreciate you listening.
Yeah, hit us up on social media. Give us a review. Give us a like.
Yeah, we'll be back here same time next week, and you can listen to another podcast from the heart and soul of the Mossy Oak Land Enhancement Building. So, Lanny, it's time for your patented phrase.
Get us out of here, Cleve.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Gamekeeper Podcast, and be sure to tune in again. Subscribe to Gamekeeper Farming for Wildlife magazine, and don't miss the Mossy Oak Properties Fistful of Dirt podcast with my good buddy, Ronnie Cuz Strickland.